Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to talk about comments in Python. Now, what is comment? Comment is something we write in our code, but we don't want the interpreter to interpret that piece of line. All right. So for example, I have a file. Let me open a file. For example, let me talk about this file main.py. Here, let's say I want to print something, and for that we can use the print function. If you don't know how I am doing this, then you should watch the earlier video where I talked about how you can write or how you can print any line in the terminal using the print function in Python. Make sure to check that out if you haven't done so. All right, so let's say I'm writing something like I am learning Python, and if I simply run it, it works. All right, but let's say I want to write something else. For example, I want to write some documentation, and let's say I am writing this like this. We use the print function to print something. You see that I have written this piece of line in the same file where I am writing my Python script. And if I want to run this, I would get an error because Python knows how this print function works, but Python doesn't know anything about this line. Yeah, you might say that we know that this is not included in my Python file, and I don't want the Python interpreter to interpret something to convert this line of thing into a Python code. All right, we are human, we can understand that, but computer is not human. Computer doesn't understand that we don't want it to convert this thing into Python code, but we have to specify it so that the computer, or in this case the Python interpreter, doesn't interpret or doesn't do anything in this line. So we can simply comment it out. If we comment this line, Python interpreter won't even touch it. All right, so whenever we want something not to be touched by interpreter or compiler, we comment those out. If we comment anything, the interpreter, or let's say compiler, won't even touch that, and that won't create any kind of impact in the code at all. All right, so we call that comment. For example, let's say I want to comment this. If you are using Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text or any other popular IDEs like PyCharm or anything else, if you want to comment any line, you can simply keep your cursor in that line, and you can simply use the keyboard shortcut Control and /. That would automatically comment that out. This is a feature that comes by default in Visual Studio Code and any other popular text editors and IDEs. But as I am going to teach you how you can use comments, so I am not going to use that specific functionality of this software right now. We are going to show how you can do that manually by yourself. All right, so let's say if I don't comment it, if I want to run it, I would definitely get an error because Python doesn't understand what this means, because this is not a Python code, right? But if I comment it out and if I want to run anything, it won't create any issue anymore. Sorry, let me run it again. You see, it's not creating any issue because as I have commented this line number 3, Python interpreter won't even touch it. And if you don't know, you should know that whenever we write anything like I am writing English line kind of things, although this is not plain English, we are using function, built-in function, print function, but computer doesn't understand it. Computer understands only the binary 0 and 1, but that would be difficult for us. So what we do, we write something and the interpreter or compiler stands as a middleware that converts our writing into computer understand or computer specified language, so that computer understand what we want it to understand. All right, I know this is a bit complicated to you right now, but don't worry, we are going to talk about that later, obviously. All right, so what I'm trying to teach you is that whenever we comment anything, this doesn't create anything, any impact in our code at all. So in that comment, we can write anything we want. We can write gibberish lines or something else. We can use emojis or anything, whatever we want to write. But as this is commented, the Python interpreter won't even touch it, so it won't create any impact for us. But this is not the purpose of comment. There are a lot of purposes for using comments in code. For example, if we want to create documentation, like what it actually does, why we are doing this, why this function exists, and for some reason, if we want to keep any note for us, so that when we want to work on that later, we might understand what we are doing back then, we use comments. All right. So if you are new in learning Python, all of these things might complicate you. So I'm not going to go into that direction anymore. We are simply trying to show you how many comments are there in Python and how you can use those. All right. So there are two kinds of comments in Python. One is single line comment and the other one is multi-line comment. Whenever we want to use a single line comment, we have to add a hash at the beginning of that sentence or you can say beginning of that line. All right. So for example, this is a single line comment. If I want to comment this out, I have to add a hash at the front. All right. So this is a single line comment. Now, if I want to write multi-line comment, what we can do? For multi-line comment, we use double quotation 3 times. Like this, once, twice, thrice, 3 times, 3 times. So if we want to use multi-line comment, we have to use double quotation 3 times at the beginning of this sentence and at the end of these sentences. And in between them, we can write multi-line comments. So for example, this is a multi-line comment. All right. In between whatever we write, it doesn't impact anything, as this is in the comment. All right. So that's how it goes. Also, if you want, you can use single quote to specify multi-line comment. For example, I can use single quote thrice at the starting and at the ending, and in between I can write multi-line comment. So for example, this is another example of multi-line comments. All right, so this is how it goes. But you can use these double quotations to indicate single line comments as well. So for example, this would be like this. This is also a valid comment. All right, so you can use this as well, but we don't use this type of thing to specify single line comment anymore. So in general, whenever you see any code bases, you would get this type of comments, a lot of them, this single line comment and these multi-line comments, this or this. You would get these, a lot of them, but you should also understand that this is also a comment, because if you see any code bases that has this type of comments, you might get confused that you haven't known earlier that this is also included in comments. So you understood right now, right? So let's say I want to print something in between. Let's say print I am learning comments. And if I simply run it, you see that it would get printed instantly, and nothing from these comments would create any impact on them, because that's how comment works, right? So that's it for today. Don't worry about the code, because the code would be available in the GitHub repository, which I would be linked in this description anyway. So if you are new to this channel, then don't forget to subscribe, and you can follow me. I provide all of the link in this video's description box. So see you again.